podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hey folks, welcome to another week here on Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the folks that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be him and me, the me part being Kim Brown.
And the him part being TC Kirkham. Welcome.
Hi.
We missed last week. We're sorry. We were hip deep a day late with our Patreon campaign, which we'll talk about later in the show. Mm-hmm. But we're back with the same one we're going to do.
Yes. Which was yours.
This is the crazy stuff where we do these crazy lists that we come up with off the top of our head. But if you've got a list idea, we want to hear from you. Front row at PNRNetworks.com. Drop us a line with your list and idea, and we'll put together our list to give you credit for it on the show and in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, it was my pick this time.
Yes.
I decided to get a little esoteric. A little crazy, because it would cause both of us some consternation in the long run. This week is top 10 movies that were later adapted into television series.
Yep.
So that means that the movies had to come first. Obviously, it's not a TV show turned into a movie.
Right.
And the TV show had to be a pretty much direct spin-off of the movie or a continuation. It couldn't be like a loose adaptation. That's kind of like not fair. So I have 10.
Although one of mine goes against that a little bit.
Well, it's your list.
Yep.
So I'll call you out on it if I see fit.
I know.
All right. So you ready?
Yes, I am.
Let's get started.
Okay. Do you want to start?
Nope.
Okay,
you always start when I pick the list.
Okay. Now, we're going by movies that we like.
Yes.
That became TV shows. My number
we may
10
not necessarily like the TV shows or watch them that much, but we
know
that the movie they came from was good.
Yeah. My number 10 is MASH.
Okay.
I have to be honest, it's very low on my list because it is funny in certain places.
It's a Robert Altman film, so.
But I found the movie version of MASH to be a little bit more mean-spirited than the television show.
The books were mean-spirited, that's why. The TV show had to be toned down for TV.
Yeah. I mean, there is quite a bit of funny stuff going on, and there's, obviously very strong, powerful anti-war statements, and some great acting, from people like Donald Sutherland, Elliot Gould, but, and then, of course, the ironic thing is that the TV show comes along and it lasts longer than the actual Korean War did.
2.5 times longer than the actual Korean War did.
My number 10, the guys and gals from the 4077, MASH.
My number 10 is actually a movie that's been turned into 2 different television series, one live action and one animated.
Okay.
And it's definitely one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, although it really doesn't have to be a guilty pleasure because everybody likes it once they've seen it. All about those dudes from San Dimas, and they're traveling through the magical telephone booth. Number 10, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, later turned into the TV series Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. Same title for both shows. The The animated series featured Keanu and Alex doing the voices the first season, and then their television replacements, Evan Richards and Christopher someone, I can't remember his last name, doing from the Fox, short-lived Fox television series. It was a fun series, but the movie is excellent, if you don't mind my saying so. Mm-hmm. You still have never seen it. We have got to sit down and watch it, because it's a really fun movie. The sequel was okay, and then they're still talking about another one. They're going to have to do something before Keanu and Alex get into their 60s. Because Keanu's out doing John Wick, and Alex is making all these controversial documentaries like Downloaded and a few other ones. So it's like, I don't know. Number 10, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Okay. My number 9 is... a show that the live action movie became an animated cartoon, which was definitely not for kids. My number 9 is Clerks, which spun off into Clerks, the animated series. As I mentioned, not for children. Considering the fact that we almost got a completely different ending, which would have never had the Clerks, the animated series come out, or Clerks 2 for that matter, if they'd stuck with the original ending of Clerks. Kevin Smith's opus to the working man who may not like working where he is, and he's not even supposed to be in that day. It's funny, it's biting, it's shocking. It's Kevin Smith, and there's really nothing else you can say. My number 9, Clerks.
My number 9, we've already talked about it. It's MASH.
Okay.
MASH was a great television series. It was a much better television series, I think, than a movie. But you're right. The movie is very mean-spirited. It is funny, and there's a lot of biting satire. There's also hints of racism and a number of other things in the film, but it is considered a classic. And it is. I didn't think I'd actually seen a Robert Altman film until we saw Prairie Home Companion, and I totally had forgotten that he directed MASH. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Donald Sutherland, who plays Hawkeye Pierce here, is a little bit too over the top. Hawkeye's Alan Alda, Mr. Sensitive Male, kind of laid him out a little bit more and made him more of a everyman as the series went on.
He could get over the top too sometimes.
Yeah, but not like the Donald Sutherland version. And Elliot Gould was Trapper John, and I'm sorry, I have forgotten the name of the actor, Timothy, somebody that played Spear Tucker Jones, their other roommate. And he didn't last long on the TV series. He did come over, but didn't make it very long. But MASH is still considered a classic. There's all kinds of crazy people in there, but the TV series did run longer, and you can watch it in endless reruns. It's on every night on MeTV.
Yep.
Right now they're running Jamie Farr's favorite episodes. He's commenting and doing stuff. MASH, number 9.
Okay. My number 8 is, once again, a live-action film that became an animated TV series, but this one actually was for kids. My number 8 is Beetlejuice. The Tim Burton directed opus about the ghost with the most, who is a bioexorcist, was softened when it came to the small screen as the cartoon series that ran on ABC. Instead of having Beetlejuice pursuing the character of Lydia in a romantic way, as was in the film where she's played by Winona Ryder, in the TV series, Lydia is much younger, and Beetlejuice is like this playfully goofy, more than a little bit insane friend with magical powers. And to be honest, I kind of like that one better. I mean, I think the thing I liked about Beetlejuice the most, the TV series, that actually more than the movie, was the fact that they got in some really awful puns. They got in awful puns and terrible jokes and stuff that just made me laugh my head off because it's Saturday morning and you're buzzed on sugar, even though
wrestling hadn't started yet.
Yeah, and even though you're in your a little older than you should be watching cartoons. My number 8, Beetlejuice.
You're never too old for cartoons.
Well, no, that's true.
No. My number 9 was a great movie. It turned into a fiasco of a television series. They tried 2 different versions and it didn't work. They kind of sort of worked, but they weren't the big hit the movie was. My number 8, 9 to 5. The original film, which starred Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton, Dabney Coleman, and Marion Mercer, was a riot. I mean, an absolute riot. Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin and Dolly Parton had such great chemistry. Now, when they brought it to television the first time around, Dolly's actual real-life sister, Rachel Dennison, stepped in as Dora Lee. Valerie Curtin, of all people, became, because she was mostly a writer, although she was a comedian too, in the Jane Fonda role. And Rita Moreno stepping in for Lily Tomlin. And I'm like, what? Later on, they dumped that when they went into syndication after 2 middling seasons on ABC. They dumped the Jane Fonda Valerie Curtin character and replaced her with Lynette Moody, and I can't remember the name of the character because I didn't watch it at that point. But the movie is a riot. It's a classic 1980 screwball comedy of sorts. Lily's never been better, and I'm a huge Lily Tomlin fan, so it's like she was so droll as Violet, and Jane Fonda had never looked that dowdy in a while either. The whole housewife look, which is really weird for Jane Fonda. And Dolly Parton, let's face it, is Dolly Parton.
You don't really need to
I'm going to get that gun in my purse and I'm going to use it. I mean, that's that.
I'm going to turn you from a rooster to a hen in one shot.
My number 8. It wasn't a particularly good TV show, but the movie was great. 9 to 5 from 1980.
Okay. My number 7, to be honest with you, I had forgotten this had been a TV show after the movie.
Okay.
Because I was kind of like, why are they, okay. You know, it was kind of one of those, okay, when we got to doing research about this, I was like, oh yeah, what a stupid idea. My number 7, Dirty Dancing.
Oh yes.
The unlamented attempt to bring the story of a dance instructor falling in love with a young woman in the Catskills in the 50s. Of course, the film was, starred the late, great Patrick Swayze.
The movie was an 80s schlock classic.
Jennifer Grey. Of course, in any movie that has a line like, nobody puts baby in a corner. Come on, seriously. But
I wasn't a big fan of the movie. I've never seen the whole thing all the way through, but the TV series was horrible. Patrick Cassidy stepping in for
Patrick
and
Swayze.
Melora Hardin for Jennifer Grey.
Yeah.
And now they're doing it again.
Is a bad idea. This was the whole thing of it. Now, of course, because it's a TV series and you don't have an hour and 40 minutes to do everything, the romance between Johnny and Baby had to be slower, and built up. But the problem is nobody cared.
Well, the whole idea was that they took a great, fun 80s melodrama and tried to turn it into a sitcom. I mean, it was a dramedy along the lines of the Wonder Years, but it was not. I watched the premiere just to see how it would be, and it was horrible.
More to the point, it wasn't Patrick Swayze.
No,
so
Patrick
who cares?
Cassidy's a good actor.
I'm not saying that he's not a good actor, but he's not Patrick Swayze.
Okay.
Period. End of sentence.
Okay.
And you are
Fair
right
enough.
in bringing it back, but it's going to be Dirty Dancing live, so isn't that?
No. It's just going to be a 3-hour TV movie with Abigail Breslin stepping in for Jennifer Grey.
I thought they were doing the live thing with that. They're not?
No,
oh, okay,
they're not.
My bad.
No.
All right, well. Yeah, but at least they're not trying to make it into a TV series. I mean, what idiot would do... Oh,
yeah.
My
It has become a successful Broadway show, though.
Well,
so
my number 7, Dirty Dancing.
My number 7, you've also already mentioned. It's Clerks, the TV series. Clerks is...
I'm really surprised this is not higher on your list.
No, there's other stuff that's higher. Clerks is a brilliant movie, Kevin Smith's breakthrough film, and although in all honesty, Clerks 2 is better. But I mainly because I like their older versions of those characters.
Right.
The cartoon, no, it wasn't meant for kids, but
No.
Kevin knew it.
Yeah.
Because although you cannot find it anywhere, it wasn't included on the Clerks DVD. On one of the episodes, word for word, Jay and Silent Bob recreated the time for timer with the popsicle stick in the ice cube trays. Word for word.
I remember.
And it's not anywhere to be found. I don't know if they didn't have ABC's permission and got in trouble for it or what. But to hear Jay and Bob doing that with the little sunshine on a stick thing, which Jay was, of course, doing, it's like, oh my God, really? The TV series also took more liberties from the comic books because there's a lot more stories in the comics than were in the original film, which was a black and white film Kevin financed on credit cards. So, and
that's the nice thing about animation, you can run more amok.
Yeah.
You know, that's...
I mean, they did a great job, and there were only either 6 or 8 episodes, and I wish it had run longer because it really... ABC is the one that brought this to television, and they had no freaking clue what to do with this show. Fox would have turned it into a long-running hit.
Yep.
CW might have turned it into a long-running hit if it had been around then.
Cartoon Network could turn it into a long-running hit on Adult Swim.
Adult Swim could have, they've actually talked about reviving it for Adult Swim at one point, so I don't know. But the original movie is a scream, and if you've never seen it, it introduces everybody to the View Askew universe, as it's called. Jay, Silent Bob, Randall, Dante, and everybody around them, and it is a great film. Number 7.
You just want them to bring it back so Trevor Furman can play Elias
Trevor hasn't
again.
done anything since Clerks 2, and he was the funniest part. I was so hoping Kevin would write a spinoff for Elias, and it just never happened. Although Clerks 3 has been in the works for 3 or 4 years, it's still... hit somebody. Neither one of them have come to fruition yet, so we'll see. Number 7, Clerks.
Okay. My number 6, actually, when I heard they were going to do this as a TV series, I was like, why? But it's actually worked.
That's how a lot of them feel.
It's actually worked, and worked quite well for the network that has it. My number 6 is Lethal Weapon.
Yes, it's one of Fox's biggest hits this fall.
You know, great buddy cop movie from the 80s. Danny Glover, Mel Gibson before he went nuts.
Although, in all fairness, Lethal Weapon, the series, is a complete reimagining of the original, but it is still based on the original film.
That is true.
Yeah.
You have the established cop dealing with this new partner who seems bound and determined to kill himself. Because this guy's got so many issues and has had so much tragedy in his life, but he hides it behind this whole devil may care attitude. It's the original movie was so much fun. I was like, they're not going to be able to get away with this on TV, but son of a gun if they haven't pulled it off.
Yeah, so far.
And more power to them, says I.
Damon Wayans is playing the Danny Glover role.
Yes.
I'm not sure who's the actor. I can't remember who the actor is playing.
I can't think of
Mel
his
Gibson.
name.
I didn't either. That's okay.
I lost it.
We don't have any way to look it up here.
So my number 6, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how well that does. My number 6 is kind of a slight deviation from the original movie to the TV series, but because it used the same characters, I figured it would work. And it's actually, if you think about it, the series is more an offshoot of the sequel rather than the original film. If that makes any sense.
Did everybody get that?
My number 6 is The Karate Kid. This is the original
The animated
series.
one.
No, this is the animated Karate Kid, but this is based on the movie.
Right.
With Ralph Macchio as Daniel, Pat Morita in his Oscar-nominated performance as Mr. Miyagi. The movie actually adds a third character, a female, that is sort of supposed to be the Tamlin Tomita character from the second film, the Karate Kid Part 2. So technically, it must be Karate Kid 2 that's here. But I am a huge fan of both of those movies.
Right.
Karate Kid. I saw Karate Kid 6 times at the theater. I saw number 2 4 times at the theater. 5 times. 5 times, sorry.
Okay.
The first one and 4 times the second one. Loved both of the films. The great chemistry between Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita was just off the scale. I wasn't really happy with what I saw of the remake with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, but that's because I just don't really care for Jaden Smith as an actor. I think the cartoon I actually did watch every week. I loved it. I thought it was a great thing. It was more of an adventure show, and it was not. Because it was sort of skewed for cartoons, it's a little bit different than the real life that came out of the first two. But the cartoon was a lot of fun, too. It only ran for 1 season, which is a shame. There was, at one point, talks to turn the cartoon version into a television live-action series, but never came to fruition. Number 6 on my list, 1984's The Karate Kid.
Okay. My number 5. Now we're going by the movies that we like, and that's why this one's so high on my list because I really loved the first movie. The second one, don't bother with, and the third one was rubbish. But when I heard they were bringing this to the small screen, I was like, "Oh, this is an awful idea."
Yeah, okay. Because you haven't watched the show much, if it's what I'm thinking of.
I don't think it's what you're thinking of.
Okay.
They've actually brought this to the small screen several times in live action and several animated series.
Oh, no, so it's not the one I'm
My
thinking of.
number 5 is RoboCop.
Oh, okay.
Really great movie, dealing with what makes
Remake sucked from what I heard.
Yeah, really great movie dealing with what makes a human being, and I don't know why I found Peter Weller sexy in that outfit. I don't know. I'm just weird.
Do you find Peter Weller sexy in any other film?
No.
Not even Buckaroo Banzai?
No.
Okay.
It's just that look. I don't get it.
Okay.
I am an extremely messed up individual. But the thing about this movie is it is incredibly tack 10 more
80s
violent. It is but it's real violent.
I have never seen the original RoboCop all the way through, but I have seen enough of it that I got pretty much the entire gist of the film. And I've seen it all mostly thanks to Watch Mojo, and it's so bad. It's just so bad.
It is.
I'm sorry.
It is an incredibly violent movie, which I was like, how?
And it was a big hit too.
I was like, how are they going to translate this to TV? They can't get away with most of this stuff on TV. And you know what? They didn't. And
it only lasted one season, didn't it? The original series.
There was the live action version. There was an online version. There were several animated versions, and none of them matched the fact that the first, the original was the best and should have been left alone. My number 5, RoboCop.
My number 5 is going to surprise you because I don't think you expect it to be on my list, and it's actually a cheater.
Okay.
Because I included all 3 of the first movies because you had to. There's no other way to do it. My number 5 is the Indiana Jones trilogy. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That makes sense.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Temple of Doom. And what's the third one?
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade. I only saw Last Crusade once. They later became...
We're leaving Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Close Encounter off.
Right. Yeah, because it was that well after the series. The series, it later begat a prequel series called The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles with Corey Carrier as 9-year-old Indy and Sean Patrick Flannery as 17-year-old Indy.
Yep.
The show was actually not half bad. I did watch it a number of times, and it was a pretty good show. And Sean Patrick Flannery did look like he would grow up to be Harrison Ford, sort of. Instead, he grew up to be one of the Boondock Saints. And Powder. But the Indiana Jones trilogy, of course, one of the biggest trilogies of all time. Forget the fourth one, and who knows what they'll do with the 5th one when it's due out in Christmas 2018. I'm getting scared, although Harrison did pull off Han Solo again.
Yeah.
70-something Han Solo, which
if you do the same thing in the next movie, Harrison, we're gonna riot.
I can't do the same thing in the next movie. He's already dead. Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert! No, everybody knows that anyway. I know, Stacey.
Nerf herder. Don't poke the warzy.
Poke. Number 4, the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Okay, my next film that became a series was actually, they tried it twice. Both times it didn't work because you can't catch lightning in a jar. I'm sorry. And these were both, from what I've understood, because I've never seen the TV series, they were both prequels. I don't know.
Okay.
My number 4 is Casablanca.
Oh, yeah.
Now, why in the living hell you would try and make a TV series?
It's actually 3 times because they are currently working on a new version for television.
Oh, for the love of Larry. Why in the living hell you would try to make a TV series of one of the most amazingly, beautifully shot and acted films ever is just, it is mind-boggling. I mean...
The original show was in 1950-something, and it was part of the Warner Brothers rotating... Warner Brothers Presents. Then they did one in 1984 or 85 with David Soul as Rick, which I'm like, what? Aired for like 4 weeks on Saturday night. Boom, NBC. It was NBC's pit period, you know?
I mean, you know...
And now they have a new one in the production that is scheduled to be... The pilot is scheduled for next season at some point, which is
There
just
are
terrifying
some things that should not be effed with. And Casablanca is one of them.
The reason they're doing it now is because Casablanca's 75th anniversary is this. I think it's 75th. Is 2017?
You know, I mean,
it came out in 1942.
There are
so
some things that you do not need to try and redo, and Casablanca is one of them.
Yes, I agree.
My number 4, Casablanca.
Yeah, I don't. It'll depend on who they cast in the new one. That I
don't.
I want to check that, but see, there is a precedent for good television series coming from excellent movies, and MASH is proof of that. So you've got to keep that, because you never would have thought MASH could translate to TV, and it ended up being a lot longer hit than the movie was. All right,
okay, that's fair.
My number 4 is just a great film all the way around. Although, of the 3 films so far, I like the second one better, but the second one doesn't qualify for the TV series part of this. Only the first one does. And I've watched it over and over and over again when it's been on, which network runs it? FFX? EIO? I don't know. One of those Fox channels.
Do I need to have like a wallet under your tongue or something?
No. My number 4 is Captain America, the First Avenger, which gave birth to Agent Carter, starring Haley Atwell. And it is a direct sequel to the television series, to the movie. Captain America, the First Avenger, of course, tells the story of how Steve Rogers became Captain America with Chris Evans and Hugo Weaving in one of his best roles as the Red Skull. Love Hugo anyway. And, of course, Sebastian Stan, Stanley Tucci, Richard Armitage, and a number of other people along for the ride, along with Haley Atwell and Tommy Lee Jones and Toby Jones. Great cast, great World War II story. And they managed to science fiction it up because it fits, because Hitler was always looking into weird stuff, and this guy was even worse than his boss. So it made sense. And great fun at the movies. I loved watching it as part of the marathon.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to see it as part of the marathon. It was the first film in the marathon.
It was like at 7 a.m.
Yeah, it was. And I wish we'd known about the breakfast before we went.
Yeah, I know.
But it was terrific, and Chris Evans is just always terrific as Cap. I enjoy him a lot. Number 4, Captain America, the First Avenger, gave birth to the direct sequel and S.H.I.E.L.D. prototype.
Yeah.
Or no, S.H.I.E.L.D. What is that? Predecessor. Agent Carter.
Yeah. Okay, my number 3 is a bit of a cheat.
Okay.
Because it did not spawn a TV series. It did spawn a television miniseries.
I think that counts.
Absolutely nobody asked for. My number 3 is one of my all-time favorite movies. It is one of your movies that you love to rag on mercilessly.
Oh. My
number 3, Gone with the Wind.
Oh, Scarlet.
Yes.
That's technically a sequel, but it is a TV movie.
It is a TV movie.
So
it, yes, Gone with the Wind.
I'll give you that, even though it's cheating.
As TC puts it, one of the most chick of chick flicks out there.
There are some really good parts to it. I mean, Rhett and Scarlett's relationship is great to watch, but God, Melanie drives me crazy.
I know.
Oh my God.
Scarlet was a miniseries that was based on a book that was written not by Margaret Mitchell about what
long dead by that point.
About what happened to the characters after the end of Gone with the Wind. And they decided, well, since this worked so well as a book, we'll bring it to TV. The TV miniseries starred Joanne Watley. I don't know if she was Kilmer.
She wasn't Kilmer yet at the time, no.
As Scarlett O'Hara, and Timothy Dalton as Rhett Butler. Now, while I love Timothy Dalton, stop laughing. That's not nice. Stop that.
No, he's a great actor and he looks the part, but I'm not so certain that he. I didn't see it, so I don't know, but I can't see him doing, the way Clark Gable speaks is so Clark Gable that it's hard for anybody to do it except Clark Gable, and he
Right.
was long dead by that point.
Yep. Also starring Sean Bean as a bad guy, Kel Surprise.
Did he get killed?
Yes.
Oh, of course. There you
Spoiler
go.
alert. I was kind of. I remember when the book came out, being like, "Who asked for this?"
Yeah.
And then when they did the miniseries, I was like, "This is a bad idea." But it is a sequel to one of my most favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, it was made for TV, so
Yep.
that counts.
So my number 3, Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, Gone with the Wind is one of the biggest chick flicks of all time, but I have now since found that there is quite a virile man who is a huge fan of that movie. You guys probably know him as Marlboro Man if you're a fan of Ree Drummond's Pioneer Woman site. Her husband Ladd is a huge fan of Gone with the Wind, which I just
I am
found
vindicated.
out. I just listened to Ree's audiobook of their that she wrote a couple years ago about their courtship and the love story that they're still nuts about each other. And you can see it in every episode of the show.
I am now vindicated.
Yeah,
So there.
just one guy that likes it though. He's a rancher. Of course, he's gonna like something like that. It's kind of plantations and ranches have a lot in common. The way that they handle, different stuff.
Okay.
Well,
no, it's okay if you.
Okay.
Whatever.
Fine. My number 3 is a great, great movie that you can't stand. And I don't know that you're a big fan of the TV show either. The TV show was good. It didn't transplant anybody from the movie, which is too bad because the movie's cast was terrific. But I always thought that this movie was exciting, and you just thought it was stupid when I made you watch
I know what it is now.
My number 3, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea from 1960. This was Irwin Allen's first really big movie hit and it had his own disaster before he became Disaster King with Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, The Swarm, all those. And this one, it's 1986, I believe the movie was set in when it came out in 1960. And Admiral Harriman Nelson has launched the atomic submarine Seaview on this test run. And it's got an integrated crew, all men and one woman.
That's really integrated.
Yeah.
That's a hella integration there.
When they surface, they find out that a meteor has caused the Van Allen belt of radiation to catch fire, which, by the way, is physically, and I mean physically, impossible. They later repurposed it into an episode of the show, which I don't remember ever seeing, so I don't know if it's part of the syndication package or not, because it runs every week on my TV, MeTV. But the original movie stars Walter Pidgeon as Captain Harriman Nelson. What is the gentleman's name that plays Captain Lee Crane? I can't remember. Barbara Eden is the single female on board. Also features Peter Lorre, Frankie Avalon.
Yeah.
And
who sings? Surprise.
He does the theme song.
Yeah.
Now, when they came to TV, of course, they turned it into a great series. And the series actually lasted 4 seasons, longer than any other of Irwin's shows, longer than Star Trek, even. With Richard Basehart as the apple of Gypsy's eye, and David Hedison as Captain Lee Crane, and
that's another show. That's another show that what I've read than what I've seen. When they started, it was black and white.
The black and white season was done more in the Cold War, and then they went color, and it went straight into science fiction.
Yeah,
they went straight down the tubes.
When they got to color, it was like we landed on Planet Weird.
The movie is excellent. If you've never seen it, it's schlocky, and yes, it's impossible.
It's nice to not see Peter Lorre play a creep.
Peter Lorre is freaking hilarious in this movie. It's the first place I ever saw him, and I loved he plays the Commodore, a friend of Admiral Nelson, and they're trying to figure out this whole Van Allen belt thing. It's a great film for once off. Michael and Sarah is also in this. That's where he met Barbara Eden. They were later married. And it's a terrific film from 1960. Yes, it's schlocky. Yes, physically it's not possible for that to happen, but it makes for a great story, and it's number 3 on my list.
Okay. My number 2 is complicated.
No, they've never made a TV series out of that.
No, if they did, I'd never get you away from the TV.
Only if Meryl, Alex, and Steve are starring in it.
My number 2 actually, the story behind it was done as a smaller movie. Then it came to the big screen in a bigger movie, a huge movie. And when it came to the small screen, it was a prequel to the big movie.
Okay.
That made any sense.
It did.
And I have to be honest, I did not see this movie in the theater. I saw it at home. I'm glad I did, because I never would have left the theater. My number 2 is The Silence of the Lambs. Originally...
I had totally... Yeah, I didn't even think of that as a TV series.
There was a smaller movie called Manhunter. There was a smaller movie called Manhunter.
I've seen Manhunter. It's a good film.
Did not... I mean, it did okay, but
the critics liked it, but it didn't do that well at the box office.
The Silence of the Lambs came out, and everybody lost their minds, because it was such a good movie, and it was so scary, and like I said, I didn't see it in the theater because I would have never left. Then when they decided to bring the character of Hannibal Lecter to the small screen in the TV show Hannibal,
which you loved,
which I loved,
it's Mads Mikkelsen, for Pete's sake.
Yes.
How can you not love the guy? He's one of our favorite actors, if you haven't figured that out yet.
He's the sexiest cannibal I ever saw.
Ew. Way TMI, thank you.
Brings a whole new meaning to the No, I'm not going to
go there.
Okay. Hannibal, the show,
that's funny.
was actually a prequel to The Silence of the Lambs. He's not known at the beginning of the series anyway. His dark secret isn't out in the open. People don't know what he is.
It's technically kind of a prequel to Manhunter too, because I mean, that's before Yeah.
Great show, awesome cast, Mads Mikkelsen. Holy crap! But my number 2, The Silence of the Lambs.
You really loved the movie, though.
I did. I mean, it's a really good movie. It's scary as hell. And because it shows that the monsters that we make up are nothing compared to the monsters that are walking around that you don't know about.
And once again, for a great parody of the characters from that movie, see the aforementioned Clerks 2.
Yeah, that almost caused a bit of a freak out moment in the theater. That was...
My number 2 is going to make you very happy.
Okay, yay.
It's become a cartoon series several times over the course of its run. They've actually talked now a number of times about bringing it to television as a live-action anthology series, but instead, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, it became a new series of films that are just exploding. My number 2 is Star Wars. Later to become Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and that's where I'm going here.
Yeah,
because the Clone Wars is the only show.
I didn't even think of that.
You didn't put it's
no.
not on your.
No.
Horsey alert! She didn't put it on her list.
I'm an idiot. And
it was even on the list I sent you. That's pretty sad. I am referring here, of course, to Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the excellent animated series which ran for 6 seasons on Cartoon Network, and now Star Wars Rebels, which I have not seen, and the original Genndy Tartakovsky shorts, not Ewoks droids, and not there was another one, wasn't there? Or was that
the holiday special?
No,
which
no,
we
no,
don't
no,
we don't speak of
we
that.
do not speak of the holiday special. So this is actually Star Wars again. This would actually be Attack of the Clones, which is really terrible because that's the worst of the. Well, no, Phantom Menace is worse, but I don't like Attack of the Clones either. I'll start with Revenge of the Sith and go forward. That's fine, but the movie that came out of that and the subsequent television series itself were just terrific.
I actually thought Clone Wars was what happened between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It's right in there. Okay.
It's set in that time frame. And they did some terrific work. The second animated series, the full-length animated series, one of the best written science fiction shows ever. I mean, not just Star Wars universe, ever. It was well written, well acted, beautifully animated, and
you cared about the characters.
It made you actually like the character of Anakin Skywalker, which was kind of hard to do as long as Hayden Christensen was playing him. Oh, come on, really?
I liked his performance in Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith is fine, but in Clone Wars, he's a whiny prick. Okay? I can't stand him. And Attack the Clones, I mean. Clone Wars is great. It also introduced Ahsoka Tano, which I love, and I think the character was brilliant.
Oh, Ahsoka's amazing. She's awesome character.
And makes an excellent Padawan to Anakin, which was really something. Number 2, Star Wars.
Okay, yeah, I'm embarrassed.
Wow, I'm stunned.
I'm an idiot. Okay, my number 1 is one of my all-time favorite films. I have lost count of the number of times I've seen it. And then it was made when they made it brought to the small screen. The whole point of it was how we got to what we got on the big screen. My number 1 is Psycho.
Had a feeling it was going to be somewhere on your list. Yeah.
Which was brought to the small screen as Bates Motel, and
now in its 4th and final season.
Yeah. Psycho is got to be one of the best thrillers ever made. Obviously made by the master of suspense Alfred Hitchcock, starring Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles. It's creepy. It picks at your nerves. And I don't care who you are not taking a shower that night when you watch this movie.
For a long time. I actually know a family friend from when I was a child cannot take showers anymore after seeing Psycho. She has to have baths. She will not take a shower ever again.
Hope she never watches Nightmare on Elm Street. That'll put a stop to that, too. But Bates Motel, the A&E series, is the story of Norman and his mother and how we get to the point that we're at in Psycho.
Critically acclaimed series. Yeah. Award-nominated Freddie Highmore playing the Norman Bates character. And Vera Farmiga, right, is Mrs. Bates?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure. I've not seen it that much, so.
Creepy movie. Great movie. Will keep you up at night. My number 1, Psycho.
My number 1 is one of those, like you said. I mean, it's not as bad as Dirty Dancing, okay? But this movie is such a classic with people of our generation, although you didn't see it till much later. And it has become a classic for the 2 generations that were there. The older people, the college kids and up, like my age at the time, fell in love with the imagery and everything. The little kids loved the story. And they've done 2 sequels, and they both sucked. And the television series...
I know what this is.
The television series have been not terrible, if you're into them. They were both... One of them was live action, one of them was animated. They were both made by Canada's Nelvana. And the live action one actually wasn't too bad. My number 1 movie that was later turned into a television series is 1984's The Never-Ending Story. Originally started as a book by Michael Ende, later became Adventures of the Never-Ending Story, the animated series first in the late 80s, early 90s. And then in the early 2000s, Mark Rendell, who would later become best known, I think, at least I know him best, as the suicidal college or high school student getting prescribed medicine by Anton Yelchin's Charlie Bartlett in the film of the same name, stepped into the shoes of Atreyu for the live action show, and it actually wasn't
Tales of the Never-Ending
Story.
Yeah.
And it actually isn't half bad, although as usual with Nelvana product, it's kind of Canada's version of Filmation. It's kind of preachy. But they were still well made and well written, and Mark was great as Atreyu. I thought he did a great job. So, but he's still not Noah Hathaway. And as much as I hate to say this now, because I feel bad, because I was a huge fan of the late Jonathan Brandis. The second movie, Never-Ending Story: The Next Chapter, is horrible. And the third one I've never seen, and I have heard on very good authority, which starred Jason James Richter as Bastian, was really bad. So if the second one was that bad, I can't even imagine what the third one must have been like. And the sad thing is, I liked Kenny Morrison's Atreyu in the second one, but Jonathan Brandis didn't work as Bastian for me. So the second one, I don't know. But the first one, Noah Hathaway as Atreyu, and Barrett Oliver, who's now a Mormon preacher, I believe, or missionary, and has been for years, as Bastian. Gerald McCraney as Bastian's unnamed father. It was taken over by John Wesley Shipp in the second film. And an array of characters that you cannot forget, including the unforgettable Falcor, voiced by Alan Oppenheimer. I finally got you to see this in 94 or 95 on home video, and we've seen it once on the big screen at the Brattle, and it is really amazing. It holds up so well.
It does.
And we missed it when it was in theaters again in September because we were getting ready to leave for our vacation and we're saving money and didn't get to go. Fathom Events had this whole thing where they had a bunch of extra stuff, and it would have been nice. The thing I really love about this movie more than anything is that Noah Hathaway, who is still out there, still acting, still doing stuff. Now, if you see him, you probably won't recognize him. He's got tattoos everywhere and everything. Is still a huge fan of this role and still loves to talk to people about it. And that's really something because, I mean, when you consider he was 12 and he's 40-something now, I mean, that's really something.
Well, it obviously really touched him.
Well, it had to
that
touch him.
character.
It couldn't be any worse than... let's look at it this way. As an adult, would you rather be remembered as, noble warrior Atreyu or Boxy from Battlestar Galactica?
Fair enough.
Yeah. My number one, The Never-Ending Story.
Okay. Let's do a run-up of our lists. So here's my list from 10 to 1 of my favorite movies that became TV shows later. Number 10, MASH. Number 9, Clerks. Number 8, Beetlejuice. Number 7, Dirty Dancing. Number 6, Lethal Weapon. Number 5, RoboCop. Number 4, Casablanca. Number 3, Gone with the Wind. Number 2, The Silence of the Lambs. And number 1, Psycho. I
forgot about Casablanca. So that's fair, that although it's not nearly as egregious as your forgetfulness.
Fine.
My top 10 are as follows. Number 10, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. Number 9, MASH. Number 8, 9 to 5. Number 7, Clerks. Number 6, The Karate Kid. Number 5, The Indiana Jones Trilogy. Number 4, Captain America, The First Avenger. Number 3, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Number 2, Star Wars. And number 1, The Never-Ending Story.
Okay.
So, where are we going? You told me you got your ideas all for next week.
Yes,
Unless
I do.
we get if we can still do your list, even though we're going to pick one here. Don't forget to write us and send us your list ideas at frontrow@PNRNetworks.com. What's next week going to be?
Next week's list is going to be, instead of doing 10,
we're doing 2 5s.
2 5s. We're each going to pick our top 5 most satisfying movie endings and top 5 least satisfying movie endings.
Oh dear, I know what's going to be on your top 5 least satisfying endings.
Oh, you do?
One the movie that won my Best Picture last year. Anyway,
I'm not going to tell.
Worst, most satisfying, and least satisfying endings. Okay, that sounds fun. Oh wow, that's going to be tough. We've seen so many movies over here. So we'll have fun with that, and that'll be next Wednesday. We want to, just real quick, we want to remind you that PNR Networks is running a Patreon campaign. We're now part of the Patreon network, and we are looking to you to give us a little support because we need to. We've been doing this for 10 plus years, and we've been talking it over, and we really want to make an effort to turn it into a full-time thing, to actually make it. Try and make enough in the long run where we can both do this full time, write, see movies, review movies, hit festivals, make it a professional commitment that we'll actually get paid for. And so we need your help to start off. We have several levels that you can pledge at where you get all kinds of cool perks. And we have all of our goals, our 4 major goals and funding levels listed and what we intend to do with them. And Patreon.com, Patreon.com /Popcorn and Roses. $2 a month is all we're asking. That's our minimum level. And we hope that you'll find it in your heart to at least give us that small level. Because although times are tight, $2, especially since we don't know the outcome of next week's election yet, the times are tight, but $2 a month. I mean, some of these shows on Patreon ask for $2, $5, $10 a show.
We're not going to do that.
Ours is not only doing this show, but we're actually including the entire PNR Networks family in our Patreon drive. So that includes this show, Subject Cinema, 3 Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, our new show, Real Rewind, coming in January, Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, and another
Platinum Rose's Garden.
Platinum Rose's Garden with Kim, of course, and a new video show that's in development for early next year, we hope. But it'll depend on you guys because we can't afford to do it unless you do. We can tell you it's going to be fun, and Kim's going to be the star, so it'll be great. And it also supports the websites eCinemaOne, eCinemaBoston coming back this week, Kirkham Report, Planet BiblioMusica, and a number of other things that we've got going. So please come over and check it out. We definitely need your help to make these goals. Right now, our first goal is to try for $600 a month. We really need to get some new equipment, some new computer programs, and it would really help us out. $2 a month, if you can afford more, that's great. We hope you'll donate. So please join us. Patreon.com/PNRNetworks. We have other shows on, as we just said.
We do.
You can hear Subject Cinema every Sunday at 6 or Sunday at 7-ish, 8-ish at eCinemaOne.com and SubjectCinema.com. Platinum Rose's Garden every Saturday at PlatinumRosesGarden.com, where Kim wraps up her supernatural week.
Yes. Platinum Rose's Garden is my supernatural podcast where I do an episode review of this past week's episode of Supernatural. So right now there is a review up for the episode that was this past week called The Foundry. So I hope you'll come and check that out. Yeah. And there's also Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie and their kids and grandkids and whoever else shows up. And they're awesome people. They talk about movies and games and music, and Cavebabble eats odd things.
Cavebabble eats odd things.
And they're just
that's one of my favorite segments of their show.
They're just the bee's knees.
Because they really have tried some really crazy stuff. I'm like,
hey,
oh
better
my
them
God.
than us.
Yes, so. I agree. Cavebabble, usually Sunday evenings. Plus, 3 Minute Weekend. Now, I was actually talking about changing the name of the show to Cinema Weekend. And I actually brought that up on Patreon. And I've decided that for this purpose of this show, well, 3 minutes is a state of mind rather than an actual time frame. Because it usually runs about 8 minutes. 3 Minute Weekend, Fridays with all the wrap-up of the movies that are coming out in U.S. theaters that day. And Tuesday Digidex for all the same, for DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming releases on Tuesdays.
Okay.
We have a new show called Real Rewind coming in January 2. It's a time capsule of movie history, and we hope that you'll check it out. It'll be on 3 times a week when it premieres, hopefully in January. All depends on your support, so make sure you're there.
Yep.
Sunday on Subject Cinema, we'll have lots more crazy stuff going on, and we hope you'll join us then. But until then,
I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham.
And we're signing off here on Front Row 5 and 10. We hope you'll join us next week.
List away. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.